2024 was a really interesting year. At the beginning of the year, people expected a big slowdown as tighter monetary conditions weighed, but in the event, global GDP held up really well and the economy grew at about an average pace. One of the big positives over 2024 was that inflation started coming back down towards central bank targets, and that's allowed central banks to start easing monetary policy. It's a slow process, and I think particularly in the United States, I won't be able to cut very much, but that is supporting growth as we're going to 2025. The Australian economy over the past year has kind of been in the middle of the pack. It hasn't been as resilient as the United States, but it's done better than some of the European economies. I think that'll probably continue over next year. The problem and the challenge we have in Australia is that inflation's been sticky on the way down, so it's unlikely that the RBA is cutting interest rates anytime soon, and that probably means that we have reasonably lukewarm growth for most of 2025 as well. One of the big unknowns for next year, of course, is what the new administration in the United States will do. But most of their policies are likely to strengthen growth in the near term and probably push up inflation a little bit. And that will probably see the US dollar strengthen and will probably push bond yields higher. One of the really big risks to the outlook next year is, of course, that with the new Trump administration, we may have another trade war. Mr. Trump has talked about putting big tariffs on China and also tariffs on the rest of the world. The challenge is we don't know exactly what will happen. We don't know how big the tariffs will be, and we don't know when they'll come into place. But as they do roll out, in all likelihood, they will impact on growth. So I think that global growth will probably slow down in the second half of 2025, and 2026 will be more challenging. China has a range of challenges. In particular, they've got a big property bubble that they're trying to unwind very gradually. They've been reasonably successful. They've leaned into building green energy, which is a positive thing for climate change. 2025, again, I think will be a challenging year, but they are turning up the stimulus dial, and I think they'll do enough to keep growth reasonably stable. I think 2025 is a very difficult one to calibrate, given the uncertainty, particularly with the new administration's policies. And I think that tax cuts in the United States will probably mean that global growth picks up a bit over the first half of 2025. But if tariffs start coming into place, I think it'll happen gradually. But when they come into place, it probably slows things down in the second half of the year. And I think 2026 will be more challenging.